My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Before all of the wins in my portfolio, I was a little boy diagnosed with polio. Experimenting with cures, I tried every one. Felt everything in my right, but my left was numb. Walking with a limp, like will I ever run? Once again, or is this it? Am I forever done? Living in the hospital was never fun. Some people were cool, but not everyone. You never know who you're lying in a room with. So I broke a broomstick in half and let it groove with the concrete in the bathroom floor. It had a new tip, stashed it behind the toilet in case I ever had to use it. Cause one day Dolores had a chat with me. Said she got...
Speak softly loud and hold me warm against your heart. I hear your words, the tender trembling.
Welcome everybody to another Hollywood Godfather. And tonight we have a real interesting guy who's defended a lot of Godfathers in his career. Happens to come from our neighborhood too. He's one of the fortunate ones that got out and made a name for himself without having to go to jail for it. And first I want to introduce my cohort, my partner and co-writer, and we have a new book coming out that we're all excited about, Mr. Pat Piccarelli.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Mike. Matt, rather.
Hi, Pat.
Yeah.
Hi, Gianni.
Thank you for coming on. Pat, would you do the honors of letting our audience know who our esteemed guest is?
We have the distinct honor tonight of welcoming Matt Mari to the show, who is a renowned criminal lawyer with some infamous clients in his past. And he has joined the ranks of the podcasting world. His first podcast will be debuting shortly. And since you're now a member of the podcasting club, Matt, rather, we're going to have to teach you the secret handshake and tell you the password. But we'll tell you all that stuff off the air so nobody else hears it.
Welcome.
I'm looking forward to being part of the podcast world, a world that I do not understand.
Well, either do we.
Jumping in head first, hoping I won't break my head.
Well, we're at 172 hours in and we still don't know what we're doing.
Matt, this is year 4 for us, and we still don't know what the hell we're doing.
I just am doing something right now that I think I'm going to hang in there.
Could you let us know what you're doing?
Yeah, you want to tell them what?
I had to print something out that I needed, a note for later. But anyhow,
right.
I'm back, and
he's still doing legal work. He's still working, this guy.
I'm still working, but Mike Schmidt, a very famous Hall of Fame baseball player, on the day of his retirement, he said that he's one of the very few people in baseball who had retired voluntarily. He said, because in this game, you don't walk away from the game walks away from you. And the same could be said of criminal defense lawyers. It's not like you say one day, I'm not going to do this anymore. But over a period of time, you start to see that instead of having 40 cases, you got 20, and then you have 10, and then you have nothing. And then people start saying, well, how come you're home every day? You're retired, right? And eventually you say, yes, but I'm not ready for that yet. I see this COVID thing has been a disruption in my life in every way. And I'm glad that I think we're through it, but it really, really put a dent in me financially and changed the entire process of the criminal justice system. Everything is different now.
Well, the courts have been closed for 2 years in New York.
Yeah. And, Johnny and Pat, there's a point in time where the FBI, believe it or not, was not going out and arresting anyone at all. I don't think they were coming out of their houses. Like most of us, we were all deadly afraid at the beginning of all this. and the government shut us down completely. Not only, I was in a position where not only I couldn't go to court, the courthouse was closed. You couldn't go to your office. You couldn't go to a restaurant. You couldn't go to a bar to have a drink. I mean, so like there was nowhere to go. And things kind of
Parkside
changed.
is always open for you, you know that.
Yeah, well, Parkside, I was able to sneak in the back to get some takeout food, and I didn't have to take it out.
No, that's funny because, Tony is so close to me, and you're a good friend of his. In fact, the last time I spoke to you, his wife called you on her phone for me to talk to you. That was
Right, exactly. Exactly, and
I didn't know you
Tony-
knew Lorraine that well. She has your number on speed
boy,
dial.
I know Lorraine. And I saw Tony twice. And in the last 10 days, I talked to him today, and he's feeling so great. He's
Yeah,
like
thank God.
100%. And I'm very, very happy for him. He's back in the restaurant,
Yeah.
and I think things are back to normal over there, which is nice.
Oh yeah, and they're
So
going to
make
open
me
the
feel good.
outside. It's so funny that we're talking about Parkside in Corona, New York, for our friends. Probably one of the best restaurants in the world. And if you don't know that, living in New York City, you haven't been out until you go there. And we're not just saying that. We've been eating there for many, many years. And Tony's been a close friend in a lot of ways. And me, he's like a brother to me because we're the same age, actually. And with that said, he's been a great friend. And he's feeling a lot better.
When I was a cop, when I just came on the job, I was in the 110 precinct. The Parkside was in my sector where I drove in a radio car. I must have gained 40 pounds in 3 years. Every time I passed that place, they were throwing food in the car. They treated me very well. Nice people.
No.
I used to go religiously every Friday at 12 o'clock and by myself. And then again during the week with my wife. I find it a little hard traveling lately. I got very lazy again as a result of the pandemic and the shutdown. I kind of think twice about sitting in my car for any period of time. Yeah. But I'm glad I'm back going to Parkside Restaurant. I'm lucky, I live in Brooklyn. I live in Bay Ridge, Dyker Heights. We've got a lot of great restaurants here too, including Positano. On 101st Street and 4th Avenue. That's a great place. I spend a lot of time in there. And what's really sad is that a lot of places closed up, and I'm sure you know better than I all about that. I mean, Manhattan
New
has
York
really
is ridiculous.
changed. I grew up in Manhattan. I grew up in Little Italy.
Yeah.
My first residence was on top of Angelo's restaurant.
It's so funny that you said that. The three of us are from the same neighborhood. Pat's from there
Really?
too. Pat's from there.
My father owned the Red Rose Bar on Bay and Elizabeth.
Really?
Down the block from the 5th Precinct. Yeah, Patty Rose. I was raised on that block.
Yeah, the 5th Precinct. That's a
Yeah.
great place.
Yeah, when I was born, that building was 100 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a neighborhood.
You know what recently closed down in Lower Manhattan? Forlini's restaurant, which was an
Forlini's closed.
institution. I mean, I actually was a customer there for 68 years, and as a lawyer, it was part of my my routine.
I thought you were only
When I'm
60
out of
years old.
court. No. And I used to love coming out of court, and if it was lunchtime, I'd head for Forlini's and always enjoyed going there. And it was truly like part of my routine. And then all of a sudden, done.
But you know
Over.
why he
Sold out.
closed?
Closed and.
But do you
they
know
sold
why
it.
he closed? I do.
Oh, I don't. Tell me.
Because all the courts were closed. Nobody was going for lunch or dinner.
I know they must have gotten a pretty penny for the property, and I know that the owners were third generation. Kind of getting sick and tired of it all, especially after this pandemic nonsense that we all had to go through. But it's sad to see restaurants like that shut down. On West 4th Street, Volare was one of my favorite places on West 4th near Waverly Place. And that just shut down suddenly,
Yeah.
So,
You know, with the Fellinis, I had moved to Western Pennsylvania, 30 years ago. It's where I am now. And my sons were born here. I have two boys. And when they were about 7 and 9, we decided to bring them to New York to see where Daddy grew up. So, I mean, these kids aren't used to Italian food. I mean, Italian food around here, it's like if you want a pizza, it's like pouring ketchup on cardboard. I mean, I'm probably going to get drummed out of the neighborhood, but I mean, this is the way it is. So anyway, we wind up in Fellini's. And my sons, for the first time in their lives, had Italian food and their jaws dropped. They were so impressed. I said, well, this is the way it's supposed to taste.
Yeah. And it's always nice when you walk into a restaurant and you see the owners of the restaurant working. You know, it really makes you feel good. And in the case of Fellini's, there was Derek and Joe, and recently the other cousin Joe passed away. But I remember Frank and Hugo and Freddie. They were three brothers, and they worked for decades in Fellini's. And before them was their dad, who was the founder of it all. So it's always nice to see a restaurant where you got people in there who founded it, who grew up in it.
Oh, yeah, it's a passion.
My father took me there in 1958, and now I'm taking my sons there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely an institution.
Matty,
Right,
we've acquired an audience, fortunately, that is so interested in crime on both sides, being a criminal and defending them. What case or client can you talk about freely that has passed on or something?
I've been talking now. A while back, a couple of friends of mine, Carmine and Peter, they used to revel in the stories I would tell and just fall all over the floor and fascinated for years and years, and said, Matt, okay, we've got to try to tell the story of your life. And I said, you can't. I said, we can't tell the story of my life for many reasons. First of all, it's too long. It's decades of violence, decades of courtroom drama, decades of all sorts of stuff that you can't talk about. And, if you're not going to tell the true story, you better not tell it at all.
Don't tell it at all.
You don't want to sell a bag of BS.
But I'm going to tell you something. In what you just said, our audience, fortunately, has made our book a bestseller. And Pat is a master of telling the story without giving up. We had to wait, and thank God, and this is a true story. There was only one guy alive that I was worried about, that we talked about, Junior Persico, in my book. And, a major guy, a maniac. And he died on March 8th, just before the book came out.
Johnny, I had several conversations with Junior Persico about you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Junior was someone that I met before I was a lawyer. I met him when I was 18 years old, and I was trying to help him relating to his case, the case that we're going back to 1968. It was an old case, and that's how I met Junior Persico and his son Alphonse on the same day.
I can't believe he died now.
Allie Boy's dead?
Allie Boy died.
No, he's alive, kicking, looking well.
Oh no, Russo is, yeah.
You're thinking about his uncle Allie.
Yeah.
Allie Boy, the original Allie Boy.
The original
Junior's
Allie
brother,
Boy's dead, yeah.
He died in prison, as did Junior's other brother, Teddy Persico, who was a beautiful man, let me tell you. I was so happy. Junior told me his brother Teddy had been doing 20 years. And Junior said to me, when you meet my brother Teddy, he said, you're going to say to me that he's the nicest guy you've ever met. And after knowing Teddy for a couple of years and becoming friends with him, I told him that. And he said, my brother said that about me. He said, is he crazy?
Yeah.
Was he in the life too?
Oh, yeah. Teddy did quite a bit of time, and the government accused him of being a captain in what they call Colombo family.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's kind of interesting about the way the government portrays all the people that they say are in the mafia. And it's amazing about all the documentaries and all the movies. Everything's all the same. You get the drum roll, dun, 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 dun. And then you see John Gotti swaggering with this beautiful, $10,000 suit on. And then you see a guy named McBratton on the floor, that they accused Gotti of killing him like 30 years before. And then you see Gotti with his number on him. And, it's all the same stuff over and over and over again. And everything the government puts. And if you read any federal RICO indictment relating to organized crime, the first 10 to 20 pages are all the same. It's the same words. It's the same setup, and I thought that, having been a criminal defense lawyer for 46 years, having grown up in the streets, as I said, I grew up on Mulberry Street, 146 Mulberry Street, Angelo's Restaurant. And then I moved to Knickerbocker Village. I don't know if you've ever heard of Knickerbocker Village.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, my godfather lived in Knickerbocker Village.
Yeah, and it's right between the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge. And I grew up there from age 6 to age 30. And later on, I represented so many people from Knickerbocker Village in court that one judge asked me one day, he said, "Matt, what is this Knickerbocker Village? Is it some kind of a crime school where people go there to learn how to be criminals?" He said, "You keep telling me, oh, this guy is my friend. He comes from Knickerbocker Village. Please give me a break, Judge, please." And so I went through years of that. Knickerbocker Village is a great, great place to grow up. We called it the Fourth Ward. And, when you lived in Lower Manhattan, as I did, I don't think I left Manhattan until I was 30 years old. I mean, I live in Brooklyn now. I live in Dyker Heights, Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn. I've been here for 36 years. And, Brooklyn's a place where there was plenty of activity in Brooklyn.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
But, at some point, I talked about, I didn't want to do the story of my life. Can't do it. But I wanted to do something. And we talked. And a friend of mine, Neil Healy, who is a friend of mine from Xavier High School. We graduated from Xavier High School together back in 1968. And he's a Hollywood guy. And, he's involved in production. He's involved in the filmmaking business. And Matt said, "You know what? Why don't you do a podcast? And you could call it A View from Mulberry Street. And you could kind of tell the story."
Is that the name of the show?
That's the name of the show. A View from Mulberry Street.
I love it.
Hoping, well, listen, I don't know anything about this stuff. We're hoping to launch it in the middle of June, maybe June 15th or so. We got about 12 in the can, so to speak. It's a video and an audio. And, I'm trying my best to be as well balanced as I could, but I do have a different viewpoint from what I described a few moments ago. That same old thing. And like when we talk about Junior Percival, right? To me, he was a father figure. I was so grateful to have met him when I was 18. You say, who can you talk about and what case can you talk about? I met Junior when I was 18, then met him again when I was 35 years old in the commission case. I represented another person in the case, a guy named Stefano Canone, Stevie Beef. And Junior was one of the major defendants, and we kind of rekindled our relationship during that case. My client died of natural causes during the course of the case. So I never tried the case.
I like the way you said natural causes.
Yeah, natural causes, cancer. And anyhow, well, some people didn't die of natural causes.
Oh, we know that.
And anyhow, 30 years later, Junior is still in prison doing a 100-year sentence. And I, along with my young friend, brilliant lawyer, Anthony DiPietro, we got involved with Junior, and we had a 3-prong attack trying to get him out of jail after 30 years based on government paperwork that had been hidden for 30 years. And it was revealed through another case. And we found out that the government withheld important evidence against Junior. We tried to get his sentence reduced from 100 years to 32 years. And judge said no good. And then we tried to get him out on a thing called 30-year mandatory parole. He had been in for 32 years. Listen to this one. This is just a great story. You say you want to pick out one story to highlight how the government operates. 30-year mandatory parole was the law when Junior Persico, Carmine Persico, was sentenced in 1987. And anyhow, after 32 years, we request a parole hearing. And there's no reason that we were going to lose that. He had to get out. It was mandatory. And what does the government said? Oh, at the last minute, we're in the hearing room, August 2nd, 2017. I'll never forget that day. We're in the hearing room at the prison in North Carolina. And the hearing officer said, well, this hearing is going to be postponed. Well, it's been postponed for 2 years already. This man deserves to get out. Well, which one will it be postponed to? And they said, it's going to be postponed to 2052. I said, what? They said that they were going to postpone Junior's mandatory release, 30 years, to when he would have been in jail for 62 years and be 107 years old, something like that. And how do they do it? They said that when he was sentenced to 100 years, that the judge, in that case, Judge Richard Owen, was smart enough to sentence him to 20 years consecutive 5 times. So it accumulated to 100 years.
Wow.
But in terms of parole, he wasn't eligible for parole for that 30-year mandatory thing. And
because it wasn't one sentence. It was 5 sentences.
Yeah, there's 5 separate sentences. And so, we shook our heads and said, man, you never win. And then Junior got deadly sick, literally.
Yeah.
And, we tried like hell. We got lawyers from all over the country to help us down in Florida, everything we could do, doctors, whatever, just so he could not to live the last years of his life in jail, to live the last days of his life out of jail, and then we were so desperate that in the last week we begged and went to all sorts of courts just to get him sent to the hospital. And about 3 days before he died, they send him to a hospital in North Carolina down the road from the prison, and he dies in shackles. But this is the kind of thing. Look, I understand what the government's position is. I understand what the public thinks about the so-called mafia. But you know what? People should be treated fairly, no matter who you say they are. And these particular people that we're talking about, the so-called mobsters, the gangsters, all I want is for them to be treated the same as any other defendant in a criminal case. And that's not the case, because they're investigated differently. Their trials, the way evidence is presented is always different. The way they're sentenced is different. The way they're monitored in the court system and screwed at every potential platform that there is. They just get screwed. And, in many, many cases, the purpose is for people to die in jail when there's no reason for it. I don't care, how bad you say some of these guys are. When you talk about murders, most of the murders are internal affairs, got nothing to do with the general public. And, take the commission case. Rudy Giuliani said, this is the biggest case ever in the history of the criminal justice system. Okay, if you look at the commission case, it's a case. It's about bid rigging, okay? There were 4 construction companies, the major construction companies in New York at that time, and they were getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. None of them got indicted. They all got off the hook because they squealed, woo, woo, woo. Out they went the door, not even in the door. They didn't have to get thrown out the door, revolving door. They didn't even get in the door. All they said to them was, look, we don't want you guys. You made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in bid rigging. Just testify against these gangsters because we want to put them in. They got a piece of the action. Look, that's what the commission case is about. A case like that, you deserve to get 10 years, okay? Now, let's say you're the...
I'm going to interrupt you 1 minute. We're going to do a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Sure.
Don't go anywhere.
Commercials.
I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
I'm happy to say Hollywood Godfather Robography is now playing on most platforms. Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music. Listen to Joel Ortiz, famous rapper, and Arsenic the Heat record, multi-platinum producer for Sony. Produced this record. I'm proud of it. There's 12 tracks. You gotta listen to this.
You never know who you're lying in a room with. So I broke a broomstick in half and let it groove with the concrete in the bathroom floor. It had a new tip, stashed it behind the toilet in case I ever had to use it.
I'm really excited to announce Pala Casino Spa and Resorts in California. The phone number for reservations is 760-510-5100. I'll be there one night, October 1st, a Saturday night. Come and catch the show. It's an evening you can't refuse. And I guarantee you, when you leave, you will be amazed at what you're going to see. Remember, Pala Casino and Spa Resorts, 760-510-5100, October 1st.
My way.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gianni Russo.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're back
Okay.
with Matty Murray, telling us about very interesting cases that we all know the names from reading the newspapers and, like he said, watching all these fictitious TV shows made up about them.
You know, Gianni, they're so redundant, but I know it's your show and you're interviewing me, but everybody.
No, it's not. It's Pat and our show, but we bring people like you on because you add things we don't know about, and our audience wants to hear about it.
I don't want to ask you about this, but I have to, because everybody said, ask Gianni about The Offer. And my partner, Neil Healy, said, Matt, you've got to watch The Offer, all 10 episodes. I said, I don't want to watch 10 hours of BS. I can't take it. But is that worthwhile looking at?
I have to say this, and it's ironic because how I met Junior, who was through Joe Colombo.
Right.
And if it wasn't for Joe Colombo, I wouldn't have got the part of Godfather in The Godfather as Carlo. They were having problems, as you know, and he was picketing the FBI building for no reason. Then the book came out, and that only compounded, and he was using that, how the book was defaming the Italian race. So I went to Joe, and we all know it and about these people. If there's a way to make money and make peace and make money, so that's how I approached it. And he just hired a young guy that I know you know, Barry Schlotnick, and Barry was representing the league. So I went to the office on Madison Avenue. They just opened it. I flew in. I was living on the West Coast because I wanted to be in this movie. I felt I could play Michael, Sonny, or Carlo. So I go see him. I said, Joe, and I knew him. Me and Jasper out in Vegas sold more
The
buttons.
Tower of Pizza.
Exactly, man. Sold more of those red, white, and green lapel buttons on the West Coast that was funding. People didn't realize it. You got that button, you made a donation. So he knew I was working from out there, and he knew me from my past and some people that I knew. I said, there's a way we can make money. And you notice I said we. He said, how are we going to make money with this movie? I said, let me tell you something. Let Barry read the script. What you feel defaming, if they agree to take it out, you're going to ask for the world premiere in every major city. You'll make millions of dollars. So he looked at Barry and he says, Barry, think that could happen? He says, doesn't sound like a bad idea. He said, can you arrange it? I said, you got to give me permission. If you tell me to go up to Gulf and Western Building, which is now Trump Tower, I'll talk to them. So I went right up there and talked to him. I caught him in the hallway. I arranged the meeting. I'm saying it fast because our audience heard some of this. Mm-hmm. Now in the offer, there is no rhyme or reason for Gianni Russo to be in that movie. None. All these guys, Francis held out for thespians, actors. I never acted in my life. I wasn't even in the Actors Guild. They just swept it under the rug. As life would have it, one of the best books ever written, I think, was did by this James Patterson, great author. And it was the life story of Barry Schlotnick.
Really?
And on page 70 and 71 in the book, after the offer is made, it's out now, and is Joe Colombo's speech telling them he's playing Carlo, meaning me. They don't have that in the book. And Ribisi, who is a great actor, he's playing Joe Colombo like a D's and Do's guy. You know Joe is very well spoken, a multimillionaire in real estate business, a very brilliant guy. He wasn't a thug.
Absolutely. Class guy.
I know.
And someone who is definitely not a thug. You know, that's not the way he came off to me. You know,
no, he never did. Now they're knowing the story of how he got to where he was, but they're playing him as a thug. So to answer your question, I can't even watch it because I know it's full of B, like you say. It's the Al Ruddy, How I Made the Godfather story. So everything he did. I'm surprised he didn't say he shot the film. Everything in the thing for 10 hours is Al Ruddy. And I love Al. But it makes no sense. Even friends of mine are saying, they don't even say how you got the part. I said they didn't want to. So that's how it is.
Well, they have somebody playing you.
Yeah. Oh no, they had to put me in. How are you going to make that movie without the wedding, without me beating up the wife and killing Sonny? The movie falls apart. Carlo was a thread through the whole movie. It was a small part, but a meaningful part. And that's why I'm still doing what I'm doing 52 years later.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But to answer your question, I can't watch it. It'd be like a joke to me.
Yeah, it's difficult. I find that, not only do I have to say this, I enjoyed watching The Sopranos, but I viewed The Sopranos as a comedy.
Of course.
From my point of view, where I sat as I watched that program every Sunday night, to me, it was something to make me laugh, not something that I considered an accurate portrayal of the streets. Although some of it was accurate and some of it was ridiculous.
You know, David Chase offered me that script.
Really?
Oh, I read it. And then he called me up and he said, "Did you read it?" I said, "I didn't get past the first page." He said, "Why?" I said, "Well, I know a couple of those kind of guys. And they're not going to walk down their own driveway in their robe and get their newspaper in the morning because the next day they'll be shot." And they're not running they're not running their family out of a strip joint. If you want some attention, I mean, like you said, it was a comedy to me too. I never watched it.
And a boss seeing a shrink.
Yeah,
that's something that would result in some bloodshed.
Kiss of death. Yeah.
No, I mean it was, but it was from that, John Q. Public loved it.
Yeah, watching gangster stuff of today. I mean, look, I love The Godfather. I love Godfather 1, Godfather 2. I love Mean Streets with Robert De Niro. That reminded me of The Neighborhood.
That's The Neighborhood.
Reminded me of Mulberry Street.
Yeah.
You never saw that, Jim?
That's an old movie, Mean Streets, right?
That was De Niro's first movie.
Yeah, Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro. I forget who else was in it. I like that, and I did like Goodfellas, basically because it was well done. I'm not saying, I don't know if it's an accurate portrayal of those people. I heard it wasn't, but as far as just a movie,
well, you and I knew two or three of those guys personally.
Yeah,
you know, I was dating Berg's daughter for a while, so we know who these guys were. But
Yeah, yeah.
his movies,
But,
I mean, it's fun.
aside from those, what I see today on the screen, the gangster movies, I'm just not interested in it. And I'm also, as a lawyer, I don't watch anything relating to lawyers or policemen or crime, like even good shows like Law and Order. I have no interest. Hill Street Blues, when that was on, I just have no interest in seeing, what's being portrayed as what goes on in a courtroom or what goes on in a police precinct.
So what do you watch? There's nothing on television.
I like.
What do you watch?
Star
Game
Trek.
shows?
I like Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, there
and
you
I've
go.
seen every episode at least 3 times, and it's getting very monotonous because I could keep the sound off and just go through the whole script of every show.
Well, just tell us that you're not a Bachelorette fan, all right?
No, I'm a Yankee fan, as you can see from behind me. I went to 2 Yankee games already. 2 Yankee games already, Johnny.
Well, that's not a lot. They played 50.
Well, I used to have season tickets and go to at least 25 games a year. But as you get older, it's just
Oh,
tough
yeah.
fighting
It's
the
a
traffic
job. It's a
and
job.
everything else.
Matt, let me ask you a question. The neighborhood the 3 of us grew up in didn't really turn out a lot of lawyers. What made you go to law school?
Well, it's kind of funny. I looked around me and I saw like everybody I knew
Needed a
from
lawyer.
childhood was being
Yeah.
arrested.
Clients.
Everybody's getting arrested. And so like I said, wow, how do you keep your friends and not go to jail? So I decided to be a criminal defense lawyer. And even in grammar school, I used to go to Catholic school. And when my friends used to get in trouble with the nuns, I would stick up for them. And the nuns would like crash me with their rulers on the hand, across the face, and they'd say, mind your own business. Why are you getting involved in this? And I always had a passion to try to defend people that I knew and that I knew were not guilty of whatever they were accused of. That started in grammar school. And, literally, as I grew up, I happened to grow up in a rough neighborhood. And that whole stuff was part of life. And I naturally gravitated to become a criminal defense lawyer. I went to Xavier High School, and then I went to Fordham University, and then I went to NYU Graduate School for a little bit, and then shifted over to New York Law School. And at the beginning, I was a legal aid lawyer for about 3 years, 1976 to 79. And then I went into private practice in 1979, and I've been there ever since. It's changed a lot, though, but, I enjoyed it.
There aren't too many high-end, successful criminal defense lawyers. I mean, I was a cop for 20 years. I can count on the fingers of probably 2 hands. People who were doing criminal defense actually knew what they were doing.
Yeah. And I can tell you this, there may be, in my lifetime, in my 46 years, there may have been many, many, many competent lawyers, but there are only a handful of lawyers who really hit the big top.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm talking about Jimmy LaRosa, Jerry Shogell, Gus Newman.
Did you know Marvin Beldock?
Who?
Beldock.
I know who he is. I didn't know him. Barry Slotnick was on the top of the hill for a while.
Yeah.
He did very, very well. Very intelligent man. And, Ben Brofman gets big fees. But, the average criminal defense lawyer has a difficult time getting a really good fee from your client. And when you practice in federal court, you better get a good fee. Because if you don't, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. It's a lot of work, and the government has an army of people working against you, including the judges. Everybody's against you, and everybody's trying to step all over you. And you got to fight back and fight back hard. And it's very difficult unless you're being paid well. And I don't want to complain over my almost 5 decades of practicing criminal law, but most of the time we're suffering financially, through the wars with the government, and it's very, very difficult.
Well, you're well respected. I know that because
Yeah,
I know so many guys, and your name comes up. They all love you.
Thank you.
Which
thank you.
that to
Murray
me
Richmond. Is that another guy you know? You know Murray?
Yep.
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Murray's another one of my mentors, who's a guy who's still around
Yeah.
and still a little bit older than me. That's the tough part of today for me. I used to be the young guy. I used to be the kid, and I used to be around. All these old lawyers. They were famous, and even the defendants were all famous people. And now, now I'm the old guy, and it's a different world. It's not as exciting as it used to be. The collegiality among the lawyers has changed drastically, and it's difficult. It's a difficult practice. So, Johnny, you appeared on my radio program, which is still going. One of the loves of my life was to be on WBOX. Bill O'Shaughnessy.
Oh yeah.
Gave me the job.
We lost him a week ago.
I was up there in New Rochelle quite a bit with Murray Richmond, being a guest on his show. And Bill O'Shaughnessy came up to me and he said, "Would you like to do your own show?" He said, "You have a lot of natural talent." And I said, "Well, Bill, what would you like me to do?" He said, "You could do anything you want." I said, "Listen, I don't want to do a show about law or about crime. I want to do a show about national and international events, current events, and politics." He says, go do it. And that's what I did for 8 years, maybe 400 programs, just talking about national politics, international politics, very rarely touching on legal issues unless they were at the top of the news, So I enjoyed doing that for a change of pace and really allowing me to get away from criminal law a bit. But, it seems to be, there seems to be a demand among my friends and the people I know for me to do something like I'm about to do. So, I got to be careful. I want to give the people an inside view of everything, but I want to make sure that the people understand I'm not going to betray any secrets. I'm not going to betray any clients. I'm not going to betray any confidence that I've received in, 50 years, almost 50 years of being a lawyer and being around 70 years. But it's going to be exciting to try to do something a little bit different. And I've got 12 podcasts in the can, and I have to say that I do enjoy watching it. So it's a different kind of thing to do, much different than being in the courtroom, much different than fighting the FBI and fighting the federal prosecutors and fighting the federal judges and fighting with your own clients. So it's a little more light-hearted than being a criminal defense attorney at war. But talking about it is easy.
COVID should have got you into the Zoom mode anyway.
Yeah.
Because everybody was meeting by, Zoom and all the Skype and everything else.
So, Matt, you've got an audience tonight here that's listening to you, about 50,000 people. Tell them how often your show's going to be on, when the shows are going to drop, how long they're going to be, etc. Because, the first shows should start coming on in the middle of June. I know we're going to be on YouTube, but we're trying for Spotify, every other platform that we can be on. And we're going to do a video release and an audio release simultaneously. And the name of the show is going to be A View from Mulberry Street. How often are you going to drop?
We're going to try for once a week. Like I say, I've got 12 in the can already. And I've done my first 12 were just me alone, sitting here as I am right now in this room and talking about different cases. I talked about the commission case. I talked about my personal experiences with John Gotti and Tommy Karate and a lot of other things.
So you're mentioning some names here. Hello.
Well, there's a lot of names.
I thought you weren't going to mention any names.
One time someone said to me, I was at a funeral, a wake, and the guy said to me, "Matt, is there anybody in the underworld that you don't know?" And I had to scratch my head and wonder, is there? But through my life, I've met a lot of people, and the stories I could tell are not any story of some secret that someone told me about some murder, but the lighter side of some of these people.
Right.
As I was about to tell the story about you and Junior Persico, you told me a story about how another actor, who I won't name,
Okay.
kind of set you up and sent you into a back room and said, Junior wants to say hello to you, and he's with his daughter, right? And you went in the back room and you said hi, and you told him, my, what a lovely daughter you had. And it turned out that wasn't his daughter.
And
it turned
Junior,
out that-
Junior
Yeah.
could telegraph a look like death in 2 seconds. When I saw his face twist, I said,
What did
Jamie,
I do?
this guy just set me up, man.
And a couple of gentlemen followed you into the bathroom, correct?
Right? And thank God Tommy Bellotti and Boozy DeChico were up at the bar because Tommy caught the whole move. That's how I maybe never came out of the basement of Jilly's that night. Because, they're all trying to make points with Junior. That's how they get made. They want to move up. So my movie career almost was 2 weeks.
I remember telling you when you told me that story, I said, Johnny, please never tell that story in public. And then you did. It was in in one of your books.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the book.
Yeah.
And so I
Are
went
you
up.
going to have any? Are you going to have guests on the show?
Oh,
Matt?
yes. So my first guest, I did my first 12 shows, just me. First 11 shows, just me. My first guest was Jerry Capisi.
Oh,
who's
wow.
the
Oh,
author of
great guy. Yeah, I know. Jerry.
Gangland News. Yeah.
Great guy.
Jerry is so informative. And unlike what people think about Jerry Capisi, he's not just some shill for the government. I mean, he's a news reporter, and he's reporting what's in the courtroom, what's
Yeah.
on paper. And of course, he gets tips from law enforcement. But I have never had Jerry refuse to listen to me when I wanted him to write a story about something that's wrong with the government, or about the government rats, and about things that I needed to try to publicize. And he would always have open ears and always be fair. Say, my first guest was Jerry Capisi, and I'm hoping that Johnny, that maybe you could be my second guest, the third, whenever you're available.
It'll be my pleasure, please. What
I'm
an
going to go
honor.
full speed ahead with that.
What an honor.
Because,
Thank you.
it's nice for me to sit there and to talk, but I think people get tired of that after a while, and so we're going to mix it up and have guests. And I love being a host. I mean, for my radio show, you were a guest on my radio show.
Oh, yeah, no, it was
And
great.
we had such a wonderful time, and I think it's easier to be a host, let's say on a radio show or a podcast, than it is to be the guest. Because you could just take it any way you want to take it, and
Ask the right
so
questions.
that's it.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some good guests. Frank Morano, Frank Morano, don't you
Oh,
know?
yeah, I like Frank. And I did his show so many times. But I don't know
Frank is-
what he's doing. He needs to
is
get
just
out of
working.
that time slot.
He's working from 12 to 5 every night, every weekday night, on his own show on 7 and then Sundays he's doing John Catsimatidis' show as the producer, and another show on a Sunday. So, but Frank is an interesting guy, and he has a very, he's a totally square, legitimate guy. He's no tough guy.
Oh,
He's no street guy.
he's a
But-
nice guy.
But he's so interested in this genre of stuff that I've seen him in court, and he's very fair-minded, for like a guy.
Why was he in court? What was he doing in court?
He would report on that for his radio show.
Oh. I
Yeah,
see.
he actually would take an initiative from time to time to try to help somebody if he felt that they were innocent or that they were being railroaded. Sometimes even if you're not innocent, all right, you still don't deserve to be railroaded. Everybody should have a fair shake, even if you're Italian.
Right. Well, John Catsimatidis loves him, so he's got a home there. But like you say, he's
Yeah.
going to kill him. He's working 7 days a week.
I've never seen a man work so hard. So,
And he works from midnight to 5 in the morning, not like 12 noon to 5 in the afternoon.
oh
It's
yeah,
like-
yeah, and he has unlimited energy. So, I'm going to start off with people like that. I don't know if I'm gonna cross the bridges over to trying to interview like government FBI agents or John Gleason, the judge, just wrote a book that someone gave me to read, and it's all about the John Gotti prosecutions. So it might be interesting to get someone like that on the show.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm intent on playing it by ear, but I want to see what the reaction to me is first of all. Let those first episodes get out there, and we'll see if the people like Matthew Mary as a character. I think I bring a little freshness to the world of podcasting because I'm in the middle of
it's
everything.
your wealth of knowledge from your background as a career. That's what you have.
And like
That's
I said,
to your favor.
I can't tell too many secrets, but I could talk about a lot of things that are interesting. The other side of midnight, you might say.
You know what, Gianni and I found out after doing this for 4 years, that podcasts, at least ours, and we're assuming all of them, tend to take on a life of their own.
Yeah.
And we started out doing stories about the mob, the movies, and we expanded from there.
Yeah.
And we got a good reaction because of it. Talk about current events occasionally. Try to stay away from the political side of it.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of fun with this.
But what you should try, Matt, though? Make sure you have email. We get more feedback.
Really?
Yeah.
At the end of the show, give them a website. I want to hear your opinions. You will not believe, you'll guess that's who led us where we're going. And they gave us great show.
So you see what they are interested in, and that's your next show.
Right.
Yeah, we do about one show a month just answering emails.
Just answering
And
mailbox.
Every show we do about 10, 15. Well, not every show, but at the end.
Because they like to hear it.
That'd be great. I mean, if the show takes upon a life of its own, that makes it easy for me. You don't have to say, what am I going to do this week? People are letting you know what's going on. And I certainly...
The mailbag is the thing.
All right. And when I get off the air, tomorrow or the next day, whenever, we'll try to set up something, Johnny, for you to be my
please.
guest. I want to talk about The Godfather.
Please, let's do it.
I
Right
mean,
now is the 50th anniversary.
That
too.
subject never dries up.
Oh, no. Hello.
Yeah, tell them about it.
That's all we're doing, man.
He's still milking it. 52
But
years later.
Pat and I really appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
Hey, Pat, nice to meet you, Pat. And
We
it's
wish
nice
you
to get
luck
some
on your
guys
new
from
venture.
the neighborhood who have managed to stay out of jail.
There you go.
Well, I had a couple of court cases that I beat, fortunately. But anyway, no. But I mean, it's great having you in the mix, and like we
Okay.
said, we could swap ideas and do things together. and
Absolutely. I need some help.
Congratulations,
We appreciate it.
and thank you for
Okay,
your
pal.
time tonight.
Good night,
I
guys.
appreciate it. Good
Good
night.
night. Bye-bye.
If you're feeling sad and lonely, there's a service I could render. I'm the one who loves you only. I could be so warm, so tender. Call me. Don't be afraid, you can call me. Maybe it's late, but
Thank
just
you for
call
tuning
me.
in to the Hollywood
Tell me
Godfather
I'll be
podcast.
wrong.
You can contact Gianni Russo, Patrick Picciarelli, or myself, Megan Horan, with your questions and comments through the contact section of our website, HollywoodGodfatherPodcast.com, which is where you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter. You can also call and leave us a message at 646-776-3038. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Hollywood Godfather and on Facebook, as well as leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'd like to know what you'd like about what we're doing, what you'd like to hear in the future, and anything else you might suggest to improve our podcast. Most importantly, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back next week with stories of the mob and Hollywood, as well as answers to your messages. Good night.
Call me. Don't be afraid, you can call me. Maybe it's late, but just call me. Tell me and I'll be around. I'll be around. Give me a call.
When I was 17, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for small town girls and soft summer nights. We'd hide from the lights on the village green. When I was 17,
I did it my